Radio Bypass, bringing you rock and roll music that deserves to be heard. Discover new bands. Hear some old favorites on Radio Bypass.
Hey, Radio Bypass. As you know, we are all about playing rock and roll music that deserves to be heard and occasionally talking to the great musicians making all this cool music. And today we're happy to introduce to you a new artist for us. Her name is Sarah Moon, and she's got a new album out called Cut and Run, as well as a single Cut and Run. And my buddy Brandon Cook, who you know from Loyal Order, also happened to play guitar on this record. So I'm joined by Brandon and Sarah. How are you guys?
Doing awesome.
Good. Well, it's nice to meet you, Sarah. Good choice on a guitar player with Brandon there.
You know it. I'm not messing around.
So we played the single Cut and Run, I don't know, probably 2 weeks ago. Our music show is every Saturday. Loved it. Didn't realize at the moment, though, Brandon, that was your guitar I was hearing. Found that out a little bit later. But it really a great song. You have a strong voice. But like I said, you're a new discovery for me. So tell us about you. What's your background and tell us about this new record.
Yeah, no, we're really stoked about this new record. It's a rock record, and we call it a driving record. So it's one that you want to get in your muscle car, crank it up, wind in your hair, sunlight in your face, and just cruise on the open back roads. It's kind of a road trip in music, if you will. And we kind of set out to just make a really solid rock record with some influences ranging from AC/DC, Deep Purple, a little bit of Aerosmith, just to kind of have that. There's not a lot of new rock that I've been able to find coming out, and it just felt like it was time to do that.
So, well, and you had two previous albums, I believe.
I do, yeah.
I didn't get a chance to hear them. Are they in a different?
They're different genres for sure. My first album is a blues album, self-titled Sarah Moon. And then the second album also features Brandon as one of the lead guitarists. And that album is more of an Americana roots rock style album called Good Girls Sleep Alone. So it's kind of a little migration in sounds, but each album has a little outlayer that kind of leads to the next. So the blues album had kind of an Americana song, which led to the Americana, which led to the rock. So yeah, Brandon and I have been working together on projects like this for quite a while.
Gotcha. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I love this song. Anxious to get a chance to digest the whole record. I just had a chance to listen to today, the whole album.
Great.
So I got to still find my way through it. I always take a few listens, but yeah, it sounds great. I'm glad you made a rock record because you got a rock voice.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been a labor of love, and we're really excited to have it out there so people can actually get their hands on it and take a listen.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And Brandon, you also play a little mandolin on this record too, huh?
Yeah, it was actually the very first time I ever played a mandolin ever, and I borrowed one from Sarah, and it was like I learned a couple chords and kind of put together something I had kind of written on guitar, just transcribed it onto the mandolin. And I've kind of played around with guitar tunings a bunch. So like just being able to think sort of in music theory, go, okay, well, that's these notes. So okay, that's these notes. That's these notes. And I just kind of put it together and figured it out. And it ended up working out really, really well. I hope we get to do mandolin live at some point, but at the moment, I'm just playing it on guitar.
Gotcha.
So
it's fun.
It really is. I had a blast. And, Sarah was just like, just give it a try, see what happens. And I was like, all right.
Yeah, we were like, how can we make it sound, like we wanted our kind of over the hills and far away. We wanted something that was just unique for the album, and mandolin seemed like a good place to go with it. And yeah, I agree. It would be really fun to play it live, although we may have to get, another guitarist. We've gotten a little crazy. We've had to already add another guitarist so we can play live.
We'll get Tim to do it. Tim to learn.
Tim, you're hired. You're playing mandolin now.
There you go.
Great.
Well, tell us about the record. So Cut and Run, since that is the track we played already, tell us about that song. What's that one all about?
Cut and Run. Okay, well, it's
And you
about
titled the album that too, so it must be extra special to you.
you know, basically it's about when you've had enough and you realize it's time to cut your losses or time to just get out. And you know, I think that a lot of people can understand or, you know, at least resonate with the song, because I think we've all been in situations in life where things just weren't quite what we wanted. They weren't working out that way. And it's time to, let's just go. Let's just go. Let's move on. So that's kind of what that song's about.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And then another one that kind of stuck out to me a little bit today when I was going through the songs is I Don't Know.
Yeah.
Tell us about that song.
Yeah. I Don't Know is one that I had brought to the table. I wrote it on guitar and did the lyrics for that one. And it's, you know, obviously we worked together to fine tune things, Brandon and I, and we actually worked with a producer on this album. But that one is sort of, it's a deeper one. It's one that's the message of the song is actually like to myself. It's like, you know, it kind of sounds like it's about a third party, but really it's just like, no matter how tough things get, and if you really don't know where to turn, like it's up to you to figure it out and just get up and get up and cut and run. Get up and go. Get up and do what you need to do to get through that day. And you know, I found a lot of people have been gravitating towards that song actually.
Interesting. Well, I guess, yeah, because it caught my ear too as one of the tracks where I said, oh, when I go back and listen to the whole thing, that's one of the ones I want to listen to first again.
Well, and the guitar solo it's my favorite work on the whole album. Like it's just beautiful. Like when Brandon was working on it, he called me and he was like, is this too much Queen? Because we were like, he's like, is this too much Queen? And I said, never too much Queen. Go for it. And then again, that's why we had to hire a third guitarist.
Yeah, it was kind of like, it started off as kind of very Alanis, right? You know, like a little bit Alanis, a little bit Aerosmith, you know, one of the Aerosmith ballads. And it was like, I was trying to kind of do this sort of Joe Perry-ish kind of solo. And then as I was going on, my brain just went, oh, hey, you're going to do this now. And it just,
layer.
Yeah. And I called Sarah and I did the same thing. I'm just like, are you sure this is what you want to do? And she's like, just record it and we'll figure it out later. And then a little bit of the arrangement changed. Andy was like, I think we need to extend this because it's just too short. It's like it ends too soon or something. And I'm just like, dude, the song's already this many long. And he's like, we're extending it. So so I was like, all right.
Like, you know, 30 more seconds on the song. And I was like, whoa. But it's awesome. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I'm glad that we kind of got to do a little bit of that 70s decadence, you know, like take it a little bit further. But, you know, like just because in deference to the great voice that's singing on this song, you know, it's like this all has to like serve the tune no matter what. So if it's like just some ridiculous shredding, it doesn't really work. It's got to come from that melodic vocal style that really helps blend it all together. It's just like if Brian May played anything different, more technically oriented than he did, it wouldn't have worked with Freddie Mercury. And that's kind of how I was trying to keep it with this too. Just anything that I did on guitar had to serve the way Sarah was singing. So.
Smart move, because I think that's really important.
Yeah,
absolutely. And probably part of why I like the way everything sounds so much.
Oh, dude, thank you.
So Sarah, let's talk about your singing a little bit. How long you been doing this? Did you start singing as a kid?
Yeah, I started singing super young. So my family ran like a live sound company growing up. And so we toured with bands. And then when we kind of planted roots, then we were, you know, doing sound for festivals and whatnot. So I kind of grew up around music my whole life. And then I would get drug up on the stage when I was 5 to like come do the like finale song or whatever. And when I was around probably 12 or so, I auditioned for the Rapid City Children's Chorus and then was classically trained through them. So I grew up choral singing. And then I also have a background in opera.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah.
So you probably have a ton of influences then, of a wide range then.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. I mean, just being immersed in the music scene in the areas I was in was really impactful. Like I grew up around a lot of blues greats that I didn't quite know who they were at the time, you know, like I mean, like Coco Taylor was like not uncommon.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about her
Yeah,
actually when you
so,
mentioned the blues greats, because I'm
yeah,
from Chicago, so Coco was a big part of Chicago for a long time.
yeah. Have you ever seen Eddie the Chief Clearwater?
Oh yes, not in a very long time, but yes, I sure have.
So with us, yeah, he was pretty incredible too. Like, what a go-getter of a personality. I really liked him.
Yeah, yeah. A fun show too.
What's his name? Eddie the Chief what?
Clearwater. You haven't heard of him?
Yeah.
No, I'm taking
Oh,
notes
man.
here, guys.
Anyone on Chess Records, right? Like that was my goal as a kid. I was like, I want to get on Chess Records. Like, how do I do that? I'm not sure.
His shows were so fun. He used to play at a place called Kingston Mines in Chicago when I was a young guy. Well, long before I was old enough too, but once I was old enough when I was young, he played quite often there, and it was so much fun to go see his show.
Nice.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I remember. So I grew up part of my life in South Dakota, and he had a big like headdress, like Indian headdress.
It was part of the shtick.
And there was like a parade or something happening, and he just grabbed his headdress and went down there, and I was like, oh man, like you're like literally in native land, like wearing a headdress right now. But I mean, it was cool. He just owned it. He just did it. And you know, it was back in the day where I think people weren't probably as offended as they would have been nowadays. But
Right. Well, yeah, and he meant no disrespect.
oh, absolutely not. Yeah, no, it was cool.
So Eddie's a white dude?
No, he's a black dude.
No.
Oh, black dude. Okay, sorry. I missed that.
Yeah.
I think they would
Not
be
native.
less offended by that.
Native, yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, but I do wonder with everything the way our world is today, how well that shtick would work today. But it was still working in the 80s, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, that's funny. So blues then, Coco Taylor you mentioned, which is great. I don't know if you're in any harp players. Sugar Blue, are you a fan of Sugar Blue at all?
I can't say that I know who that is. And there were several harp players, but again, I was little, so I don't recall all the names of, but yeah, I mean, just, it was just so cool to be able to see those shows, you know, and when you're, especially when you're a teenager, it's like your friends aren't listening to the blues. Like, I don't know, like on the weekends, you know, my friends are probably camping or something, and I'm like at shows, you know, getting my education. So definitely.
That's awesome. I think that's great. Well, Sugar Blue, you certainly know the Rolling Stones song "Miss You," probably, right? You know that one. So that harp solo, that's Sugar playing it.
Oh, okay.
He's a Chicago guy.
Got it.
Yeah. And used to play sometimes. Eddie Clearwater and him were on the same bill sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's a fun time. So that's cool. So opera too. So did you ever perform in an opera?
I did like shorts, like vignettes. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I grew up singing, like I said, very classically trained. And so arias and vignettes and things like, I don't know if you can still call it a vignette, but yeah. You know, more like just an aria rather than the whole opera itself.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's been something that I've been toying with, kind of bringing back, even just as like some sort of an intermission for a longer show or an intro to like have, maybe I'm even backstage just singing some operatic stuff and then come out and like bring out the rock, but we'll see what happens.
It would be interesting. I would like that, I think.
I mean, opera and metal can cross over pretty well together. I think I could pull it off.
Yeah, I bet you could.
I think it would be awesome, quite frankly.
Yeah, it'd be unique, you know. Yep.
Definitely be unique.
I would get my guitar chops up to snuff, like accompanying you on that.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah, so I was thinking, what would you do for that? I don't know.
Probably have to have the keys player play something, but we'll see.
Yeah, and then and we know you two obviously, but you did mention a band and another guitar player. So who all's part of the Sarah Moon band?
Yeah, so Brandon and myself, we have Tim DeQuilletis on guitar. We have Kim Smoltz and Maya Chambry on harmonies and backing vocals. Alan Hunter played bass on the album and plays with us live when he's not touring with the Eels. And then otherwise we have a couple fill-in bassists. And then Kyle Baltus, also from the Loyal Order, played drums on the album, but our live playing drummer is Ryan Moore. And then we also had Jean-Pierre Garau, who plays organ both on the album and live when we're
Big band.
Yeah. And then also we bring in horns from time to time to do the song called The Way I Used to.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the ants in the kitchen horns.
Yes.
The album closer.
Yeah.
Song.
Yes.
Gotcha. Well, that's
fun.
awesome. So what would you say, since you have such a wide, I mean, Coco Taylor, opera, who would you say is maybe like one of your top two rock vocalists that inspire you?
Rock vocalist. Well, Chris Cornell is a big one for me. We have a similar range. I just love how powerful he is and how dynamic he is. So he's a huge influence. On the blues side of things, Etta James is my number one, like hands down, she's my number one. I grew up listening to a lot of like Zeppelin and Doors and Jimmy and Janis and all those. So I feel like it's all kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing really tops Chris for me.
Gotcha. And Brandon, for you, this is, what I've heard of the record so far, a little bit different. Well, actually a lot different than the Loyal Order. What was it like for you working on this music?
Well, for me, like rock and roll has always been sort of like something I really liked, like I was always like in my teenage years, I was always a metal guy. And then like in college, I studied jazz. But as soon as I got out of that period of my life, like I had been teaching guitar lessons. So I was learning like Jimi Hendrix and Zeppelin and Aerosmith and like all the greatest rock and roll songs you could ever like find anywhere, because the students are always just bringing it in. Santana, whatever, it didn't matter. And so I'd learn it and then teach it to them. So that vocabulary just kept getting like put into my brain over and over again. And so I also like country guitar playing and stuff like that. So like on the cut and run solo, there's a little bit of that in there. And I just, but like as far as like writing the songs, I've always kind of written with an acoustic guitar anyway. So when Sarah and I sat down and started writing with acoustics, it blended really well. And she would bring ideas that I didn't have, and I'd bring ideas she didn't have, and it just sort of blended. It's like, wow, that thing you did there, that was like that was pretty cool. Let's do that. Let's play with that. And we had a really cool synergy with the way we got things going. And so I always kind of think of myself as just playing for whatever the song is, not because I'm into everything, but everything I'm into, I really love and I devour it. So like if it sounds like something that I've really loved in the past, it resonates, and just a creative idea comes out, and I don't even know where it comes from. It's not like going, oh, this Aerosmith thing, I should put that in there. It's just like, oh, hey, that's pretty cool. Let's try that. And
the feeling.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It just becomes a feeling and like a reaction more than it is like a fully thought through, like, well, Aerosmith plus Led Zeppelin equals,
Right.
And not only that, like she loves Chris Cornell. Chris Cornell is probably one of my top 5 favorite vocalists of all time. I love Soundgarden's guitar playing, and like, I think she brought me like when did we go see Alanis? Was that before we recorded or after? I think it was before.
I think it was before. It was pre-pandemic, I believe.
Yeah. So we went to see Alanis together, and we were checking that show out, and it was like, it like totally opened up guitar playing in that style for me, because her guitar players were just burning, like unreal guitar players. And I'm like,
really,
this is going to be a great record. I always knew it was going to be good because we have such good chemistry together and stuff, and good friends. But like that sort of opened things up for me, like being able to really stretch if I needed to, but also like focus on making it sound like rock and roll. And since I've always been in rock and roll tribute bands, I had a lot, and that's the other part. It's like I had all these rock and roll tribute bands, just like learning great hook vocabulary and how to, oh, hey, that's the chord progression, but he's playing this weird thing here. That's cool. I like how that, and then I just extrapolate those ideas over and over again. So, and play something until one of us goes, "That's
The
cool."
magic. Yeah.
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 So anyway, yeah. I hope
That's
that
cool.
answered the question.
I think so. I think so. Just always interesting to hear how musicians approach things, and there are special relationships. You're saying, you mentioned the synergy you two have, which I think you can hear in the record as well. And that doesn't always happen. So that's kind of a special thing. How did you two connect?
Well, we had
Right.
we had a
Together.
mutual friend named Andrew Green, and he's in a bunch of bands with me, and Sarah and him made a video together, like what, 2006 or
I
something.
don't even know. It was so long ago. Yeah.
And it was like, and then we were doing a project that was, we were putting on like a Tonight Show kind of thing for a roast, and Sarah was the singer that was going to be singing on the gig with us. And actually, you know what? We did the year before that too, when we played at the Barracuda.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So we were kind of in this band that was put together for a local radio DJ, and he would throw listener parties, and then there was the roast of his name is Rick Emerson, and so they had the Emerson Starship Band, and I got hooked up with those guys, and that's how Brandon and I met. And then Brandon and Andrew and I have done a lot of different little things together over the years, but that was probably like 17 years ago.
So we were like hanging out in the hallway on a break, and me and Andrew are doing Beavis and Butthead, right? And she turns to one of us and goes, "Hey, yeah." And I was like, "Oh my God, you rule. We're friends forever now."
Yeah, we bonded over Beavis and Butthead. It's beautiful ever since.
What a beautiful story.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's funny. That's funny. So, all right. So tell us, so the record, Cut and Run, it's out there. Is it in physical form or just download? And where should people go to get it?
Yeah, so it's in both. If people contact me directly, or, easiest way is just to get it at a show, I guess. But if people contact me directly, they can get a copy. I'm happy to mail those out. It's also available on any streaming platform. So it's out there on everything, from YouTube to Spotify to iTunes to band, whatever, all the different ones out there. Bandcamp, yeah.
Your website's sarahmoon.com, right?
It's Sarah Moon Music. So all of my social media handles are Sarah Moon Music. So it's easy. SarahMoonMusic.com, Sarah Moon Music on Instagram, and Sarah Moon Music on Facebook. Yeah,
and that's important to use the music, folks, because when I was trying to find out more about this young lady, there's an actor, I forget what it was. Somebody else comes up with Sarah Moon before.
Yeah, there's a very
I
famous.
typed in, how about Sarah Moon singer? Let me see what I get. And then I got to your website. So you get a famous name, apparently.
I guess so, yeah. We'll have to meet someday. She's got even a makeup line out because she's this brilliant photographer. And so I'll buy makeup with my name on it, just
well, that's kind of fun. Yeah, this is my line.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
That's cool.
You can do like a cross promotion online.
I mean,
yeah,
it really
you should.
Yeah.
That's a good idea, Brandon. Little partnership. Moon and moon squared or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. You mentioned getting CDs at shows. So do you guys got some gigs lined up?
Yeah, our next show is actually over the 4th of July weekend. So we are playing in this cool little town called Independence, Oregon, for their kind of their Independence Day weekend festival. So we're on the 3rd of July at 6 p.m. on one of the main stages out in the park. They have kind of this cool downtown amphitheaters area.
Okay, that's good. So Oregon folks, there you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anything after that? And anywhere else outside of Oregon?
We're working on some things, maybe some flyout dates and some kind of shorter tours. Just because the record's kind of just getting going, we're gonna see what next summer brings. But hopefully, yeah, we'll be playing outside of Oregon. It gets a little tricky because Brandon and I are both in bands that not tour extensively, but that play out of the States. So we have to juggle some dates, but we're getting there for sure.
Yep.
Good. Well, you should get out there with this record because, like I said, it's really good. I'm interested. I'm going to definitely listen to it in its entirety again this evening, and pay real close attention. I like delving in with headphones, and
Oh yeah, that's the way to go.
I'll do that tonight.
What area are you based in now? You said you were in Chicago. Where are you now?
Yeah, lifelong Chicago guy until 2 years ago. We had to relocate for my wife's job, so I'm in Sacramento, California.
Oh, okay. So you could be our Sacramento hookup because we're lining up California stops.
Love it, yeah. And you know the Bay Area, Brandon. So
Yep. I'll have to do a little
you
club
work out,
research.
you work the west part, and I'll take you east or something.
Yeah, because
There
you
you
had talked
go.
to me. You had talked to me about a couple clubs in or in the Sacramento area. So maybe we
I
can
did.
chat
Did I
about
ever
that.
text you those? Because I know I was going to send those to you.
I don't think so, but
No?
yeah, we can check those out.
Yeah.
Send them over. It's good to know where the hot spots are.
Yeah. Love to be able to see you live.
If you want a physical CD, I'm happy to mail you one as well. So
Yeah, love it because I still like that because I still have a CD player in my car, and even though I do stream stuff from my phone, I don't know. There's just something about like this band right here. They just put out their debut album.
Oh yeah, yep.
Love those guys.
I've got it on WAV files or whatever, but I'm like, no, I want physical copy, and then I'll listen to this in my car. Even though, yes, I could stream from my phone, but I don't know, there's just something about putting it in. And I like CD booklets because I like looking at lyrics while I'm listening to the songs and thinking about what does that song mean to me? And maybe what did it mean to the person that wrote it? All that kind of stuff. For me, music is an immersive experience for me. And I think when you listen to just a quick MP3 or something, it's not the same when you're just doing only that. I like artwork and all of that. I like the whole, I don't know. I just like to be inside the music. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Absolutely.
I totally feel that.
I know I'm old fashioned and not modern, but it's what I like. So yes, I would take a physical product.
We'll make sure to get you some.
All right. So before we wrap up, what else should we know about Sarah Moon?
Oh my gosh, that's a tough question. What else?
You're new to the world, let's say. Let's pretend nobody knows any of your music. What would, I guess maybe a good thing to think about is like what if somebody's discovering you for the first time, just discovering your music, what would you want them to know about you as a musician?
I suppose that it's my passion. It's the reason that I'm here on this planet, and it's what I do best. And so I put my all into it, in every which way possible. And so it just means the world to me that people take the time to delve into the music and actually listen.
Very good.
Do you mind if I say anything?
Brandon, you go right ahead, my friend.
I just like Sarah is one of the most professional people I know. And it's one of the reasons I love working with her because we in the business of music have major problems come up and like big egos and stuff like that come up. And Sarah always just has like the focus and the time to spare to like make sure that that problem gets solved. And like, if it needs space, she gives it space. If it needs action, it needs action and goes for it. And I just like, as far as like dealing with her on professional level, it's always just like top notch. And there's nothing more. There's pretty much no one that I've worked with that's as professional as she is about this stuff. And I'm not sure where that comes from, but it's also, it's very much, I'm very grateful for it. So, and not only that, she's a good friend. So, it's awesome.
And it sounds like a good songwriting partner as well.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
That's a real nice thing Brandon just said right there, Sarah.
I know, I'm gonna cry.
Well, we're gonna wrap up in a minute, then you can let
then I can go. All right.
So before we end, then the last thing I want to ask you is I want to play some more of your music at the end of this interview. I definitely want to put Cut and Run into this interview again because I just think it's such a strong track. I really love it. Since my early favorite beside Cut and Run is I Don't Know. I think I'm going to add that, but I'd like you to pick a track as well.
All right. So, excuse me, I'm torn between Only You Stay, which is another just rock burner, and The Way I Used to, which is more of a soul R&B style song. So I think if your audience is more into the heavier rock, I would go with Only You Stay.
Okay. I'm writing it down so I don't forget.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Brandon? You got one you'd like to pick?
I really love Golden Silences, and I like both of those, but like I really love Golden Silences and Knocking Me Down. And the guitar, one of my favorite guitar solos on the record is Make You Feel Whole. That's
Well,
like
maybe
my
we should
favorite
go with
guitar
that
solo.
one. We'll do that one, I think. Can I pick
It's a great
that
tune
for you?
too, but I just really love the guitar solo on that one. It's fun.
Yeah, it's a good
Well, hey, you played it, so if you love it that much, then I think that's the one. All right, I'm writing.
My Neil Giraldo like ideals kind of came out of that one too. So,
So does that mean that she had to sing like Pat Benatar then on that track?
no.
Okay, well that's awesome. So I will add all those to the end of this interview. So guys that are listening to this, don't turn away when we say goodbye, because you're going to hear all these songs, and I think we'll play them in order of their picks. So first we'll play Only You Stay, then Make You Feel Whole, and then we'll throw in Cut and Run, which is the single that hopefully you guys heard on our weekly music show, and then my pick, I Don't Know. I will end with that. So
Awesome.
Please stick around for all those tracks. And thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Brandon, for telling us about this. Excited to learn about you, Sarah, and really enjoy hearing the music. And again, sarahmoonmusic.com, right? People can find you. And on all your social media, Sarah Moon Music. Don't search Sarah Moon Music, everybody. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Love chatting with you.
Take care.
Seeing signs of treason, I kick you to the curb. Me loving you, absolutely absurd. You ain't worth my time, so I push you away. I don't need a reason, only you stay. When you bend to hear me, I react. I'm better than this. It's time to draw back. My forces retract. This ain't a war. This is my life. Oh. sit down and order a drink, and you look across the room, and you see a pretty young thing. When you got nothing to lose, you gotta take a chance, like you're living when you're free. Thought you'd stay, now you're gone. She gives you a smile. She could take you home, make you feel whole again. A midnight vacation, not your average night, make you feel whole again. Keep it simple and fun. If you try to make it last, she's gonna take off and run. Don't you tell her she's the one. She gives you a smile. She could take you home, make you feel whole again. A midnight vacation, not your average night, make you feel whole. change. I had to ride.